What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of What Are You Scared of Something? Way sauce is the acronym for it. This movie...
a lot of light.
La Llorona.
There's so much light in
There's
it.
so much light in it. The Lighthouse, 2019, directed by Robert Eggers, starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. This one's weird. This one's crazy.
It's strange.
It's bizarre. It's
really grinds your gears.
It's interesting. But before we get into it, please like and subscribe if you are a fan of our podcast. We're trying our best to just give you the best review and analysis of these movies that we watch. I got a lot of notes here. Let's dive in. So like I said...
I don't have many notes.
He doesn't have many notes. He just leaves it to me, and he just watches every single scene. Oh, my God. Did you see that? And I said, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I need water.
He needs water. I got none.
Hydrated.
Oh, yeah, die. So the movie starts out with some weird, distorted sounds. You're like, okay. And then you quickly realize, all right, this is in black and white. I wonder if some people don't, like immediately be like, nah, I'm not watching it. It's in black and white. I know people, especially
I
my
used to kind of be like that. I didn't like the... I also feel like it kind of gives more of a dreary feel. You know, black and white just makes it feel dreary and just...
Because this movie, after you watch it, you'd probably look back and be like, yeah, that'd be kind of weird in color. I mean, back then they didn't have color, but like Schindler's List, it's... That ain't happy.
Or if they were going to do color, it probably should be very dull colors.
Like they wear gray and stuff.
Very gray.
Well, the movie takes place in like 18-something or early 19... I think it was like 18-something. So, I don't know. They didn't have really good clothes there.
Yeah, no.
They were really like... Everything was monochromatic.
Like The Witch. Everything was brown.
Brown, gray, dark gray, charcoal. That was it.
Earth tones.
Earth tones. Lots of foghorns in the beginning.
I love the one that goes like low. It is like.
Yeah. So.
Let me go. Let me go.
If I had a steak, I would fuck it. That's one of the lines from the movie. So
Sam doesn't actually think that.
No, I don't think it. I don't think steak's that good. But if I had one, I'd fuck it. Also, take note of how good... I mean, Willem Dafoe is great. He's a legend. He's been around for a while. But if you don't know anything besides Twilight, I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
I actually have.
Yeah,
one of my last girlfriends years ago.
Made
me watch it, and of course, like, it was one of those typical like boyfriend girlfriend moments where I was like, "There's no freaking way I want to watch this," but she convinced me, and then of course I got sucked into it somehow, and I'm like, "This movie sucks," but like I gotta know who's gonna win.
Win.
It's like the vampires versus the werewolves or whatever, or like some shit.
I legit know nothing about it.
I forget like all the scenes and everything, but like I just remember being like, damn it, I want to watch the second one now.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, I gotta watch it. That's like growing up, my sister would watch like One Tree Hill and Teen Wolf, and I'm like, I gotta watch something else. But then I'm like, all right, what happens next?
Yeah,
like you're just intrigued.
It just sucks you in.
But yeah, Robert Pattinson, his versatility as an actor is incredible. He does so many different accents in a lot of movies, and this one he does like a Massachusetts accent that he just nails. So it's really good. But we see the living situation for these two guys, the two lighthouse keepers. Willem Dafoe in it is Thomas is his name. Why laughing?
Because the first note I put is guy is a farting machine.
Oh my God, yeah. So it's interesting how the movie starts off and you're like, okay, this is like I guess it's a horror-ish movie. Yeah, I mean, it's towards the end, it's pretty horrifying, but like, and then all of a sudden you like hear these farts from Thomas played by Willem Dafoe, and you see like they only have 2 single beds, so you're like, their living situation is crap, and the amount of work that they have to do, more so Ephraim, which is Robert Pattinson's character, and Willem Dafoe is just farting like crazy, and you're like, was that a fart?
Yeah.
You're like, Was that an accident?
I wasn't expecting that.
No, you don't.
And yeah, it just kind of throws you off a little bit.
Would you write farting machine?
This guy is a farting machine.
Yeah, it's just like every
time he's trying to sleep or like he's in bed, you just hear like.
What's funny is that like as I'm thinking about that, I think that's one of the early like or more laid back annoyances that he does because he gets worse. But I think it's right away. He starts as like, all right, I'm going to fart. That's going to piss you off.
Yeah.
But like you could take it at first, but then if he keeps doing it, and then all the other shenanigans he does,
he might be very like self-centered. Like he only cares about like what's going on with him. Like he's not thinking like, oh, maybe this guy's not going to like that I just farted.
Right.
He's just like letting it rip, and it's like, just met this guy.
Right. But he doesn't seem, like you said, he's not very considerate. But 1870s or whatever, it's the hygiene and the living situations are pretty crap.
And I guess he's just always on that island. Is that the case?
Or he's just done it for a while. Yeah. Because I think he's like a vet, because he talks about like the other assistants that he's had, and he was here, back in whatever. This is back-to-back Robert Eggers movies that we're doing. Also another movie, I don't know where the Lighthouse is. I think you would imagine it's like, I don't know, maybe Martha's Vineyard or Cape Cod or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that, but it's like, also, I'm pretty sure this movie is like loosely based on that story where the lighthouse keepers go missing. I think that was a BuzzFeed unsolved thing, and they talk about it and how like there were all these notes talking about like the weather, and like they just go missing, and then when they look at the weather patterns for that week, it was like clear skies. So
really?
It's a bizarre, it's a bizarre tale.
I actually just looked back on that. I was watching a Watch Mojo like top 20 mysterious things or unsolved things, and that came up, and yeah, that's crazy. Or they all got into a fight and threw each other off.
Yeah, who knows? It's one of those things where you're like, could weather be a factor? But again, if they said they were like, we checked the weather records, there was no storm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's actually an odd part. So yeah, I love the sounds, love the aesthetic in the beginning. I like early on, at one point you see Ephraim come out, and he's got like this cool hat on, similar to this, but it's like black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what you would call those. What's the ones in France? Beret?
A beret?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Or like kind of like what the golfers used to wear like back then.
Yeah.
And he's just got like a cigarette in his mouth. He's got the mustache. I'm like, that's pretty cool. He looks manly. But then I'm like, and you watch the movie, you're like, I don't want to be him. Not much dialogue to start out with. And you realize quickly you need subtitles. Just like The Witch, you need subtitles for this, because Ephraim, you could pretty much understand. Thomas, forget it. He talks in old sailor English. It's like if the first time you read Shakespeare, you're like, what the fuck are they saying?
Yeah. He is pretty hard to understand. I'm trying to even remember some of the things in the beginning. I don't even really remember what he said. It's because it was a little hard to understand.
I think just like most of the beginning is just like you seeing what their living situations are and like the work that Ephraim does.
And then he keeps like telling them like, all right, get back to work.
What to do and stuff like that. He's like, you know why you have to work, right? The old sailor of the turtle and the blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, shut up.
What the hell is this guy talking about?
What's also so funny is like, what was the movie we were watching? When we reviewed X, when you're like, how are they not just like beating the crap out of these old people and like getting away? This guy would be like, just tip him over and he's done so. It's like, but they're the only two there, and he's like the boss. And he's in charge of the pay.
Yeah, exactly. He's in charge of the pay. He's been a long day. He is threatening.
Yeah,
there we go. To dock his pay. So like the whole time he's like, "No,
I'll dock your pay.
I'll dock your pay.
One more wee word out of you, and now I'm Irish.
You gotta look for the glue. You gotta be careful out there in the sea." And
I see your song. So we then see them sit down and eat, and this is when he really gets into the dialogue, because Ephraim refused to drink.
Yep.
And then you're like quickly intrigued. You're like, I wonder why he doesn't want to drink. And I don't know if he really says it, but Thomas kind of gets mad and like kind of takes it as an insult.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you got to drink.
You had said too, like if you were sitting there, you would have just been like, all right, I'll take it, because it's like a little more polite.
Yeah, I feel like if you're, maybe you don't like, I don't know, you don't do well with dairy or just deal with the consequences later. I mean, if you're allergic, obviously you just say that. But like, I don't know, if somebody like goes out of their way to like make you something, like, and somebody bakes you a pie, like a mother, and you're like, oh, great, and you don't have to eat it, just like give it to somebody else, and it's just polite, just because you don't, do well with sweets. But anyway, this is a different situation. I would have just been like, to get it over with, just drink it, so you don't have to hear him
put it down the hatch real quick.
It's crazy. Yeah, so you can already see he's like already established as the leader. And we then see, like, remember, this is like takes place in there's a lighthouse, and there's like a little house that they stay in. And we see Thomas really taking a liking to the light up on top. And like he calls it like a beauty. And at one point we see him like naked, and you're like, okay, that's kind of weird.
He's looking through the people.
Maybe.
He's naked upstairs. And Ephraim's looking at him through the people.
It might be. Yeah, it might be.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like he sees them up there a lot. But anyway, one of the first scenes, you see him naked. You're like, okay, this guy's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's with the light, and it's like, all right, so he's attracted to a light. To each his own, but not really.
Yeah, I did write in the notes. It does seem like Thomas loves the lighthouse. Like,
yeah,
is it or in love with the lighthouse?
Yeah, or he's one of the lighthouse. He's a part of it.
He is the lighthouse.
This is like kind of I don't know, maybe. Well, we see it later with the seagulls, where you kind of see like enemies or antagonists that aren't necessarily humans. Like in Smile, it was like entities, but you never really saw it. In The Shining, like you could say that the antagonist is the hotel. So maybe like Thomas and the light, or I don't know, kind of sabotaging what Ephraim does.
But it's interesting that like and then. What's his face? Thomas doesn't let Ephraim up there at all. You know, like which makes him even more be like, oh, I gotta get up there. What could possibly be up there? You know?
It's like there's this. I don't know if it's like scientific or psychological experiment where it's like, don't think of an elephant.
Yeah.
What you just think of an elephant?
Yeah.
Right. It's like you tell me not to do something, I'm probably gonna do it. You tell me not to go up there. I might not go up there, but I'm going to be like, why not? You're just going to be more and more intrigued.
And with his like intrigue for the light on the top, it's very similar to like in Greek mythology, Prometheus. Like he was trying to steal the light or the fire to bring down to the humans, but the gods didn't really want them to do that because I think the gods feared that the humans would then become too angry or too powerful or something maybe.
That makes sense.
But so and then it's funny too because Prometheus's torture, once the gods find out that he stole the fire, is they tie him up to a rock and have either an eagle or a hawk peck at his liver, and that's kind of what we see later on.
Oh, good job, Brandon. Or the light could be significant to like I don't know.
I don't really know what it
heaven?
is. Yeah, I don't really know what it signifies exactly in this movie, but I just know that it kind of resembles the story of Prometheus trying to get fire. But like,
it's a good analogy. Yeah.
I don't know what. It's almost like in what is it? Pulp Fiction when they open up the briefcase and you don't really know exactly what it is. Like it's just like a bright light. It could be anything. What were the theories with that?
Well, Tarantino never really says it which is cool. It's like why like leave him alone. Like we don't want to know. And he's like it's up for your interpretation. Apparently, it could be Marcellus Wallace's soul because he has a Band-Aid on his head.
Okay.
Or just maybe money or gold in general. But no, it's good that it's up for interpretation. But yeah, I mean, it could. But there's a lot of things in this movie where most of it you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So, and that's we go back and forth with talking about this with these types of movies that we review is like, you don't know what happened, and any theories is as good as the next.
Yeah.
So the next scene is Ephraim approaching the ocean at night and sees like a body, and he goes further into the ocean, and we hear a screech and a mermaid, and it turns out to be a dream. Or was it?
Yeah, who knows?
Because like he could have done that and then went to bed, and then the next scene is we see him waking up. But we just assume it's a dream. because it's kind of outlandish.
Yeah,
but
that's true. That's true. I didn't. think of it like that.
you never know.
I mean, he does seem to all of a sudden find a liking for mermaids because all of a sudden or sirens because he like gets that statue or the little tiny
the little
statue later,
figurine,
starts whacking it. To a lot of that going on in this movie.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a prison, and like because there's also a lot of
women around,
right? And there's also like intimate scenes between them.
Yeah,
where it's like, will they? Won't they? So yeah, no, it's definitely bizarre. But he gets woken up by Thomas, so you're like, God, this guy's a pest. He's annoying.
Yeah.
With another chore. And then the audience is kind of saying like, okay, Ephraim seems to be doing all the work. A lot of hard labor, something that I don't think most of us are used to.
And I feel like
back then.
Thomas is kind of like laying around, like almost
Farting.
just farting, laying around,
away.
Drinking, just getting him to do everything. I get that he's older, so he can't do some of it.
Right, he's probably like, oh, I had to do this. So like, that's a typical mentality of like, yeah. Motherfucker. We always hear noises.
Dude, I was just telling one of
caffeine.
my coworkers, we just hired this new guy, or this newer-ish guy, and I was telling him about you in the bathroom.
Worst thing ever. I'm waiting for you to tell me that it was you. I know it wasn't, but it's just like...
I told my coworker today, and I was like, apparently, I think there's a ghost here.
I mean, it was a legit... I'm not kidding. And I like...
That's crazy, dude.
Unless I blacked out for 4 seconds, but there's no shot.
And then you fell in love with mermaids?
I did, yeah. The amount of figurines I have in my room. So, yeah, lots of hard labor. Thomas doesn't seem to be doing anything. But like I was going to say, it's like that mentality of like, yeah, well, that's what I had to do, and this is what you're going to have to do, kid. It's like Freshman Friday. It's like, yeah, well, I got beat up. It's you don't have to beat people up. Just be normal and nice. But whatever. Crazy background music as usual. I mean, I love the A24 sounds that aren't what we normally hear in movies. And that's with like a lot of these movies we've seen. And Witch and Midsommar, whatever.
These ones have more of like that nautical theme to it. Some of them will have that, like the foghorn and like other shit in the background. It's just so cool. I love that.
Computing.
It's pollen. I'm going to start coughing like in a day or two. You know that cough I always get? Yeah, it gets really bad, and then I start coughing like crazy.
5 seconds.
Oh, I can taste it too.
You won't be sick.
It's a weird taste in my mouth.
So
do you like me cooking?
All right, have it your way. I like your cooking. We're going to be saying a lot of quotes from this movie.
Literally, we have to be them for Halloween. That'd be so funny.
Yeah. I feel like if I'm Robert Pattinson, I'll have overalls but no shirt and a mustache and like just dirt on my face, a cigarette, and just chugging vodka.
I'll just have raggedy beard.
Do you like me cooking? I am the souls of sailors. Best leave them be.
It's bad to kill a seabird.
Bad luck to kill a seabird. Bad luck. I do a great Thomas, I think. So Thomas is working on the roof, and Ephraim's working on the roof, and he peeks in. This is when he peeks in and sees Thomas like, oh no. So he saw him on the lighthouse being naked, and then he like peeks in the ground, and he sees him on the roof, and he's like humping the bed. Remember that? And you turn to me, you go, is he humping the bed? I'm like, so Thomas is a freak.
Yeah, remember that.
And you're just like, okay. So yeah, most of the movie, like at this point, it's just like scenes of him working, but other weird stuff like seeing mermaids and like farts and humping the bed.
Yeah.
And so then there's a cool shot of the lighthouse and the house that they're staying at when Ephraim is using the wheelbarrow. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a side shot, almost taken from like the ocean, and I don't know, it's just something to point out. It's some of these shots are really cool. It's like very professional filmmaking.
Some of the shots are really cool. You didn't see it. Me and our friend Bailey saw it. Ennis Men, and I think they actually had to film. They filmed the Lighthouse on a very similar camera, like a really old school camera, because
70 millimeter.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's it, but
that sounds
or maybe 35.
That sounds. I feel like 70 sounded correct, but it just like looks kind of grainy, and they actually said too that the amount of light that they needed because the I'm sure like the aperture of the cameras back then didn't allow enough light to come in. So they, I think I saw that Robert Pattinson or Willem Dafoe said that at times they couldn't even see. Because, like, picture, like, these lights, but, like, 1,000 times brighter.
Jesus.
And, like, you can't see in front of you or anything.
It's probably why they're squinting a lot.
Yeah. Even, like, there's the one scene where it's the two of them, and it's kind of, like, windy and rainy, and it's kind of, like, dark out. Like, they said the amount of lights that are in that scene, like, are, like, so many, but, like, the camera only picks up so much. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
But the shots in the movie itself are really cool, kind of grainy and weird,
which is cool. And it's like similar to when we reviewed X, because you're like, it looks 70s, but they also like tweak it to, because they like have great technology. This movie, they're like, all right, it's in black and white, it takes place in the 1800s, but we'll still do cool shots because we like have drawn inspiration from it, because Robert Eggers and Ari Aster are just like, you know, film lovers, film geniuses, and so they studied film, and they're gonna, you know, use as much as they can in it. This is the first introduction to a seabird. Obviously, we know it as like a seagull, but they say it in the movie as a seabird. Maybe they didn't have that name for it. And like I said, last movie, The Witch, I mentioned Robert Eggers used a crow a lot in The Witch. This one he uses seagulls, and they're kind of like an enemy, which is weird, especially Thomas, and they kind of annoy the hell out of him. So it's like, most of this movie, you're just like, people just want Thomas dead. Mm-hmm. You know, like seabirds and the weather and Thomas, they just like are just
or do you mean
sabotaging him.
Thomas is sabotaging Ephraim.
And the weather, and like there's a lot of factors. The seabirds. So Thomas sees Ephraim throw a rock at the seagull from a distance, and then he brings it up later. So
bad luck to kill a seabird. It's interesting because it's almost like the whole like island itself, along with the seagulls, it's like become an entity and are almost watching Ephraim. You know, just like it's almost like they're waiting for him to fuck up. They're just like,
right.
Like, oh, please do something. We're begging you. Like, we're ready to pounce right on you as soon as you mess up.
Well, it's interesting because you could say that similar to the witch. Like, there's many factors, but the goat's here. Right, which is Satan. So he's here, but he has other forces do it because he doesn't want to do it. This could be the weather, the lighthouse in general, the seagulls, and then there's little Thomas getting at him at first, and then the outside forces will get in, and it's just an overall onslaught avalanche just against him, which is interesting. Just like in The Shining, where it's like him just being isolated, the weather, the house, just how big the place is just gets to him, and it's really like we didn't have to do a lot, you know, to get what we wanted, which is really interesting.
And especially in the beginning too, you might infer that like Ephraim is like he doesn't drink, so maybe he's trying to like. It's always like them trying to stay away from what maybe has caused them pain or hurt in the past. Yeah, everything's like tempting him, and then like everything else around them is just like giving him such a hard time just to get him to break so that he does it, you know, himself. Yeah.
So another scene is Ephraim is like hauling this barrel up the stairs. It's kind of like, it looks like a keg, and all of a sudden Thomas is like, we don't need that, bring it down.
Oh yeah.
And it's a spiral staircase that's really long,
and it's so small,
and it's so small, and he's just like a cruel boss, and like and it's also weird too because like he's telling him, and Ephraim's like, yes sir, yes sir. It's like he's not looking him in the eye. It's aye sir, aye sir, yes sir. It's like you have to talk sailor talk. So Thomas is just a pain in the ass, but like imagine, like you could see all the grueling labor, that hard labor that he does, and then he picks this barrel up all the way to the top. He's like, take it back down.
So heavy too.
I'd be like, I throw him down the stairs.
And Thomas said it's so like nonchalant too. He's just like, all right, well, you're gonna have to bring that back down. It's like, what? Can't I just do it tomorrow or something?
Yeah,
I'll just leave it here for a sec.
Relax.
It's like 1,000 pounds.
We got 2 weeks. I'll roll it down if I had to. So then we go to another dinner scene, and it's kind of just like it's like you're watching like a sitcom that's not funny, of just like a family just doing like their daily routine. So I guess like the director's just trying to get us to like look at, you know, the what they have to do. So then there's another dinner scene, and Thomas like wants another dumbass toast, and with his stupid saying that he does, and and he like wants, and then he starts like telling Thomas to like kind of lighten up, and you like sympathize with it at first. You're like, yeah, lighten up, and then it's like, wait a minute, no, you suck. It's just like, after all this hard work, we're gonna toast to drinking, which you don't want to do. I'm gonna say some dumb saying that you've never heard of, but lighten up, kid. It's just like, huh? Get the hell out of here.
While you're just humping beds and farting.
And farting. Thomas, like, yeah, and like I said before, he corrects his vocabulary. Like, he wants to talk to him like more sailorish. And one quote I wrote down is Thomas says, which I think is like pretty profound. Boredom turns men into villains. That's why we drink.
Yeah,
which I thought was
I
interesting.
remember him saying that. Yeah.
Ephraim makes Thomas laugh, saying drinking. And then he goes, "It also makes you stupid."
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Thomas cracks up. You're like, okay, so like there's a little humor there. So then like things start lightening up. And then Thomas tells Ephraim that his last assistant went mad and died.
Oh God!
So he's like, "Great, me and you alone, and your last assistant went mad. Awesome." And he's like, "The light made him see things, and he treated it like a god." And it's like, isn't that what you did? Isn't that what you do now?
Yeah, I wonder if. No, I was gonna say. I wonder if there's. I wonder if there is any theories where that like maybe he's still the last. Like
maybe never had an assistant.
Thomas, never had an assistant,
right?
And he's the one that's gone mad, and he's just still on the island, and
he believes like in his mind he perceives that like he had an assistant or something like that. Because it's like it seems pretty easy to go mad being on an island, like so any isolation. You know, like again, The Witch and The Shining. They're isolated movies. They're in the forest. In The Shining, he's in the frickin' in the mountains and wherever they are. So
I was just watching something on YouTube. I think it was Locked In or some show, and it was this guy who he's in for life, right, in prison.
Yeah,
and yeah, he's in solitary confinement all by himself. He gets an hour outside, and it's like not even outside. It's just these like 20-foot walls that are just surrounding him, no bigger than this whole room, and he gets an hour to be in there, and then the rest of the time he's just in his cell.
God.
And he said he was like, I've taught myself business law, Spanish and French, and I just have all these books I never used to read or anything, but I'm trying my best not to go insane.
He's coming out a genius.
Yeah, literally.
He's gonna be a professor.
It's crazy. But yeah, I can't even imagine how hard it is. Isolation will kill you. Oh my God.
For sure. That guy's gonna come out a college professor, and it's like, wait a minute, I have Spanish, French, and business law with Dr. Robertson. What? So yeah, he says he treated the light like a god. This is Thomas talking about his assistant, and Ephraim goes, another tall tale, and he slaps him.
Ugh.
And he goes, wait, is that when he slaps him? Yeah. No, excuse me. Okay, so he says that's a tall tale, and then you see Thomas get mad, and he goes, this is when he brings it up, and it's like it's weird how he didn't bring it up at first. I seen you sparring with the gull. Bad luck to kill a seabird.
Bad luck.
Best leave him be. Another tall tale. Slaps the shit out of him. And like Ephraim just gets up and stands and looks at him. And then like all of a sudden, like Thomas is like visually upset at like what he did, and he's like, get him some coffee. Coffee will do us some good. Yeah, that'll do good. And he's like eating really fast, and he, like you can see like kind of like he's tearing in the eyes.
So strange.
So that like it shows like he's gone mad.
Yeah,
he's just like another tall tale, and he like it's a very light scene, and he just slaps him, and he's like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Get us some coffee. Coffee will do us some good. No, meds will do you some good.
Yeah,
you lunatic.
It's
get off this island."
He literally is in love with whatever is on this island.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like, don't make fun of the seagulls. Don't make fun of the light. Like this is me. I mean, that's why like it's a good theory that like he is. I don't know if he is the island or he is a part of the lighthouse. It's weird.
Well, the other thing I was looking at too was that like I was gonna kind of wait to bring it up, but he like so before it was Prometheus, but also in Greek mythology is Proteus, who is I think it's either the brother or the son of who's the
I don't really know Greek mythology.
I know, but who's the underwater god? Poseidon, who is either the son or uncle or brother of Poseidon, and he's depicted with tentacles, and that's why we see that eventually. But but perhaps like if what's his name? Thomas? Yes.
Willem Dafoe's Thomas, yeah.
If Thomas is like the keeper of the island or whatever,
Right.
he's like Proteus, and he's like, because he's, has to do with the sea and the lighthouse and all that kind of shit. So yeah, there's that.
Probably. Yeah, most likely. So there's that. So you're like, wow, these two they're an interesting pair.
Yeah.
And the more you watch it, they're like a married couple. It's so funny. So then another scene is Thomas accuses Ephraim of not cleaning the floor well enough. And it's like one of those things, like if you think in life, like you did something and then somebody accuses you of not doing it well when you know you did your best. Mm-hmm. It is like, and you become so frustrated, and you relate to Ephraim because he's like, you didn't clean this enough, and he's like, I scrubbed it twice over. I did this so well.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
He's like, Thomas literally is like, nope, no, you didn't.
You didn't see it. Didn't watch it. Yeah, because you're busy farting. And then Ephraim gets pissed. He's like, I didn't sign up to be the housekeeper. I'm not the maid. And then Thomas is just like, you'll do whatever I tell you to do. And like the camera kind of zooms in, and he's like, if I tell you to scrub the floor once over or like 10 times over, you'll do it.
And take out the nails out of every floorboard.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, something like that.
And he just like goes nuts on him, and it's kind of like a quick monologue. There's a few of those in this movie. Now most people would just quit, but where are you going to go? That's like where it's like when you said before, it's like he's threatening him because it's like, I could threaten you because like you can't swim back. The boat's not coming for another week or whatever. So there's no way of leaving. And he calls him a dog. Yeah. Like, you will do it, dog.
Yeah. Oh.
And he threatens to dock his pay.
Yeah. That's like the big thing because, later on we find out that he's been jumping from job to job. He doesn't seem to have something like steady, so he really needs it.
So the next few scenes after that, he's like, you see Ephraim working harder and harder because Thomas is a nut. So there's one of the like a really like a good scene. It's a turning point too. Is there Thomas is up top and Ephraim is like painting or something, and he's holding him up on a rope. And he's like, and Ephraim's like, go lower or something. And he's like, I am, blah, blah, blah. And he drops him and he falls and he just hits the ground, and like the scene like cuts.
Black. Goes straight to black.
Straight to black. And he's just like left there. Like Thomas like leaves him there, and Ephraim wakes up with the seagull messing with him.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of like pecking at him.
And then you see the seagull has one eye. So it's the same one that he threw the rock at. Mm-hmm. It could have been, but like most likely it is, or it's just like one seagull that has one eye from God knows what.
Yeah, yeah. And who's to say that Ephraim never like woke up from that, or he died right then and there?
Hey,
and then
yeah.
The rest of the movie is just within his mind or whatever.
Because that's like, I don't want to say that's a turning point, but that's like for some reason that's a big, because it's just like he just drops him. And then, like, you don't know how. That's okay. So that's a big theme of this movie is time, because it's like you don't know how long they're on this island.
It was just supposed to be 4 weeks, right?
4 weeks. They could have been longer, because at one point he says, "How long have we been on this rock? 2 days, 3 weeks, 5 weeks?"
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. You don't know how long he left him on the ground. Like you don't know how long he's doing these tasks for. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's not like they ever show like a linear path of like, oh, here's him working, and then maybe he's eating lunch. Maybe
he's got a break,
and then maybe he's eating dinner, and then it's the next day. It's just kind of like bloop bloop doop doop doop, like just cut into different little, and they could be any time. It could be like the next day, the next time they cut to him working again,
right.
Or anything.
He could have left him there for hours. So the next scene is another dinner scene, and then Ephraim finally tells him his actual name. So another thing with time, it's like 2 weeks. He finally tells him, "My name's Ephraim Winslow," and he's like,
"Oh, he hadn't told Thomas."
No, and we hadn't heard his name either.
Okay.
I don't even know if we know his name is Thomas, but so they're getting more and more personal.
But isn't that's? Wait, what was his name?
Who?
Ephraim
Winslow is Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
right.
Doesn't he come up with another name later on, or no?
Well, it's his real name.
Okay. Okay. There used to be a 50 Cent song I used to like.
Okay. Day.
I used to think it was the coolest thing.
So they're getting more and more personal. So then we find out that Ephraim used to be a timberman in Canada. So he wasn't an accountant, wasn't working at social media, any of that. He was a timberman.
It was a timberman. You know what's interesting? It just popped into my head. I feel like Ephraim's accent changes a lot.
Do you think it gets more Massachusetts-y?
Yeah. So I feel like he's putting out a facade.
Or he's getting drunker.
Ooh. Or he's getting drunker, which then takes his wall up that he's been putting up.
So he really has that accent.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we don't know if he was born in Canada and then came to Massachusetts, but
who knows?
Who knows? So they're getting personal. He says he was a timberman in Canada, and Thomas is talking and looking at the sea and saying this is the only life for him. Remember, he's like, and at one point, I remember when I saw it the first time, and he's looking at the window. He's like, the sea's the only thing for me, and he's like bobbing his head like the
seagulls,
the Steinbrenner in Seinfeld. But yeah, it's like the seagulls, which is weird. No, he kind of does like this. So you're like Parkinson's, or he's a seagull,
or he's a seagull.
One of them.
Maybe that's why the seagulls keep bothering him. They're like, "You're one of us." Isn't that from Wolf of Wall Street? One of us.
Probably.
Goobo gobble.
$20,000 worth of signs, Jordan. Daddy's not going to touch mommy for a very, very long time.
One of us. Gooba gobba. One of us.
Damn, that hurts. Okay. And the souls who met their maker is Thomas's response about why not to kill a seabird. So Ephraim asks him that, like, what's the big deal?
Just a bird.
You see these things?
Just a bird. I'll give them French fries and they'll
quack,
eat it.
Quack, I mean,
go to Tobay Beach. They're always bothering me. Pooping everywhere. They eat my French fries. What's the big deal? There's sailors in them.
In them, the souls of sailors. Yeah, your assistant? It probably could be his soul. That's why he's pecking his head. At one point, Ephraim goes to the top of the lighthouse, and he sees, like, this tentacle. You remember that part?
Yeah.
That was weird. And that was who? Prometheus?
No, Prometheus is the one that stole the fire. That is Proteus. Proteus. That's why we might infer that he is the all-seer of the island, because he is, what is it, brother or son?
Holy Spirit.
I can't think right now. Who's the underwater god?
Poseidon. Damn, everybody know him.
I know.
Oh
I don't know why I can't think of it.
He sees the tentacle, so we don't know what that is.
That was very strange because it's like, hold on, wait a minute,
something ain't right.
Something ain't right. Is this guy? It didn't even get paranormal. It got like mystical or whatever you want.
Well, it's just you just see like the tentacle and you're like, okay,
right.
And then
okay, thought that guy was a human, but okay,
all right. Well, I mean, is it him or is it like something? And which is so weird. It's just like in the middle of the movie, and you're like, okay, so is it a shapeshifter or like, what's the deal? And it's just like, I don't know. Like maybe that might like slightly annoy me that like there's like this movie's so good and they like might be too artistic. Where I'm like,
sometimes that kind of deters me a little bit as well because it's like it that really threw a curveball where it's like, damn it, like that was almost. I mean, whatchamacallit, Lamb was on another level, but but
forget it.
That's like that the whole time.
Yeah,
the whole movie is
and
that.
It's just like somebody tell me what's going on
because I remember that whole movie. I'm just like, all right, first 30 minutes, and then something weird happens. I'm like, all right, it's just that one. Next 20 minutes, all right, there's another one. All right, I'll give it 3 strikes. There's another one.
12 strikes.
All right, there's 12 more to go. Actually, 12 strikes.
Remember at one point I go, what the hell is this? So then Ephraim like takes a sip of the water, and you realize that it's gross. And he goes to the well. I guess it's like a well to see what's going on. And he sees a dead seagull
in like that sludge, right?
Yeah, and then you make the note that like the seagulls are mocking him because the next scene is very disturbing, where Ephraim absolutely destroys the seagull. The most violent part of the movie. I would say. I mean, those two wrestle for a bit. Yeah, literally. For like times 10, and he just keeps doing it. And it's, you know what's interesting is that like when I just thought of that, you watching you do that, he kind of like, I mean, Ephraim's kind of like cowardly because we like later learn what happened in his past with like somebody in the Timbermen like dying or something, and it's like, yay, you beat the shit out of a seagull that like anybody could do that too.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are you, a man now or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's very like I don't know, like that was kind of like just like a weak moment for him, and it was a bad moment.
It's the same vibes that what's his face from The Witch gives off.
Yeah, the dad.
The dad, yeah. Where it's just except with him, he only chops wood. Whenever he's having a bad day and he's like trying to feel like better about himself, he just goes back to chopping wood.
And
that's all he's good at.
Right, that's all he's good at, and he sucks everything else. But like they appear manly, but they're really not.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, and this is like definitely a turning point of the movie. But also with that, it's like, is Ephraim even doing any of this work well? Because Thomas accuses him of that, and you're just like, well, obviously he is, and it's like, wait a minute, how do you know that?
Yeah.
You know, he could be just literally a terrible employee. That's why he's bouncing from
that's
job
why he
to
has
job.
so many different jobs.
So, yeah, this is definitely a turning point in the movie because, like, a legit turning point of the movie because he kills the bird and then like the wind goes crazy and changes and the compass on top it's like a rooster compass completely flips the other direction and that doesn't happen. And then you're like, okay, shit's about to go down. So yeah, the arrow just literally turns the other direction.
The wind has changed.
The wind has changed. So another dinner scene. A lot of dinner scenes of this movie. Ephraim drinks for the first time. That's huge, I think, because he's just like, I killed that son of a bitch. This guy's weird. Might as well start drinking.
Does he ask Thomas to pull us?
I think he says, let's do a toast, and he's just like, fine. Mm-hmm. But of course, he doesn't just do one. Thomas just keeps pouring it, and they go nuts.
And is that the first time they're drunk together?
I think so, yeah. So, it's... Oh, okay. So he drinks because it's the last night. It's supposedly the last night. He's like, come on, you're going home. You've done a great job. Drink. He's like, okay.
All right, fine.
You ain't going home.
I'll put one back.
You're not going home.
Fine, I'll put one back. I'll
put a couple. Oh, he's pouring more? Okay.
Drink ski?
Yeah.
Drink ski for the boys? Huh? Yeah? Yeah, we're going home tomorrow. Might as well.
Crack a bottle.
Make a bottle. Don't act like a snobby.
So they start to bond and sing. They start doing songs. Back then, they just sang.
I've heard.
It's like in you ever see Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
The hoedown that they do at the end.
Nope.
Okay.
I didn't watch it that much.
Cool. So they start to bond and sing, and they're singing like these sea songs.
Sea songs.
So after their drunken night, Ephraim is taking their waste to dispose of it. And the wind goes into his face, and all the shit and piss goes into his face. And then all of a sudden, you just hear him go, ah! And it cuts really quickly because he's just like, you ever have a moment where like everything is just, Murphy's Law, it's the bottom of the barrel, and it's just like, that's the last thing. That's like the last straw, and he just screams because he's like, this is crazy. But now this is where the outside forces are really messing with him.
Yeah, you're going to kill one of our birds? We'll show you.
We'll put poop in your face. So yeah, it's a really rough life. Life before 1920 just seemed really tough. So Ephraim sees a mermaid. Is that like he sees it on the ground? I think he sees it, or in the water or something. Because I think he thinks it's an actual person.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of both, or something. Starting to talk like him.
Well, no, he keeps moving like the seaweed off of her, and then he sees the scales, and then like he looks at that and looks up, and she like,
oh my god,
she laughs and like lets out this scream that is similar to like a foghorn, but like a high pitched foghorn in the Lighthouse.
Yeah. Is that like? Is he having sex with her? Because they show like a weird, like almost vagina-looking thing at one point on the mermaid.
Well, yeah, man, she could just be naked.
Naked. Yeah, but the bottom of her is all fish. How do you do that?
I don't know.
Comedy.
She's a mermaid. You have sex with her. Comedy. Well,
it's all just connected in one. ain't got no legs.
Yeah, so she lets out this scream, and it's insane. But also, what's interesting is like I saw this like Instagram post of this guy on this ship, and he like the ship is moving fast, and like there's two things on the side moving really fast. He's like, "Were they mermaids?" And they're like making these weird noises. I'm like, that's interesting. And this one guy wrote in the comments, "Who's to say that mermaids aren't real? They're written all across different cultures for years." Like, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is kind of true.
Things that have been written or across cultures is like usually it's like if you wrote about an apple at different cultures throughout time, you're like, well, yeah, I know an apple's real. It's like, well, why would they write about this? It's very odd. And we only know what 5% of the ocean.
Yeah,
we freaking it could be anything. Come on.
That's like in hieroglyphics. There's like weird paintings of beings with helmets on coming from the sky, and then the Aztecs. There's this one sculpture of one of their gods or one of their kings that passed away, piloting this like machine / doohickey with a propeller on top, and he's got like his foot on like the gas, and like his hands are like these mechanical things, and no one can explain.
Yeah, and you're just like, what the hell? Well, look at Da Vinci. 400 years before the Wright brothers took off. He wrote the flying machine. Like, time traveling ass.
Jesus.
Him and the Simpsons guy.
So maybe there's mermaids out there.
That could be, yeah.
Sirens, something.
Sirens, yeah. So the next day, because we said it was the day they're supposed to leave, they wait for the boat. It never comes.
That boat ain't coming.
It ain't coming. So it was really rough waters, just a big storm. So then they were just like, all right, we're stuck here. Let's get some booze. So they like dig up some booze in like these crates.
Because we're all out. They're all out.
And, they... I
wonder who put them there.
Maybe him.
Maybe.
But like what he would... Oh, yeah, the booze. All those 40 crates of booze that I forgot. You'd rather food, but, they're stranded on an island with just booze and themselves. What could go wrong?
And eventually they start running out of that booze. And
they like make their own.
They make their own out of like I think oil or something.
Something weird.
It was something that sailors used to. I looked it up. I forget what it was, but it was something I think the sailors or something would make like on the go if they ran out.
Jesus. What's interesting is like that one part when they're making the alcohol and Thomas is waiting there like a kid, and he's like watching Ephraim do it. Like Ephraim's a pro.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, it's like Thomas is very weird where he's like. There's a lot of scenes where he's like kid-like and also not. It's very odd. Like he gets very emotional. So when they find the booze, Ephraim gets way drunker, and like Thomas probably has like more of a tolerance, or he's not drinking as much. And I feel like this is important to see who's more sane.
Yeah.
And it seems to be Thomas. The one scene where Ephraim says he doesn't like Thomas's cooking is so funny. So like.
I love that.
Like
just the answer is fantastic.
Just the answer is fantastic. So they're drunk, and Ephraim says, "I don't like your cooking." And Thomas goes on this legit monologue soliloquy, like basically like threatening him, like "May Poseidon strike you down" or whatever. And he's just going off for like a legit 2 minutes. And then you hear this silence, and Ephraim goes, "All right, have it your way. I like your cooking." And it's like so funny, and it's like there's a lot of points in this movie that are really comedic. And like I said, it's like husband and wife sitcom. Yeah, he mentions a tentacle. Thomas in his speech, he mentions a tentacle, and you're like, "Ooh, okay, that's what we saw earlier on." So, yeah, it's very interesting. So they're like a monologue. Oh, they're like a monologue.
It's funny online. They're
like a married couple.
Proteus is known for his shape-shifting abilities.
Ooh,
so.
Could be that, yeah.
Proteus is Tom's boy.
Robert Eggers is doing research for sure. So at one point,
and his emotions are extremely changeable and lacks self-control.
Interesting.
I think.
You think? Makes sense though.
Yeah.
So another scene is Ephraim sneaking in to Thomas while he's sleeping, and he tries to get his keys to the top of the lighthouse because he's like, I gotta know what's going on. I'm stranded here.
Oh yeah,
might as well find out some secrets. So Thomas is sleeping, and it's interesting because like the keys were right outside of his pocket, and it's almost like he was testing him to see if he would take it.
And then also like Ephraim goes from that to like being like, wait, maybe it'd be easier if I just killed him because he takes out that like
he takes out the knife,
the little knife. And he puts it like kind of close to him, and then I don't even know what Thomas says, but he wakes up and he just says something again, kind of comedic and like, meh. I don't know what he says, but he's just like, he doesn't even notice the knife or anything. He just kind of like wakes up and just talks.
Go
with
back
his
to your
eyes closed
chores
or something.
or something. And he's like, oh, I didn't want to wake you or something. I don't know. He like tries to cover for it. But maybe he thinks like, well, if I kill him, how am I getting back? Because like I'm the rookie, you know. So it's very weird. So then Ephraim, the next scene is he finds a head in a cage, and we are to assume that it was Thomas's last assistant. So you're like, okay,
A head in the cage. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember there was a head and there was like seaweed over it. So he finds that, and it's interesting because when Thomas sees Ephraim throw the rock at the seagull, he waits a bit to tell him, and then it's similar in this situation when he finds the head. He doesn't tell him till later. So the next scene is them chugging alcohol like crazy and dancing. And then Ephraim dances like crazy when he's like, dance, Ephraim, dance. And he's like, and you're like, okay.
They were chugging to the point where it was just running down.
Yeah. They couldn't even get in their
It wasn't
mouth.
even going in their mouth.
You can't even drink water like that. And you're like, imagine that's vodka.
Oh my
Jesus.
God.
And like, that's probably like 100% back then.
And I remember I told you, I was like, I feel like I used to do that like party. I mean, it's kind of like a party trick.
Yeah, but you would do it with like
15 seconds. Let's go, fucking Smirnoff, whatever, or vodka, whatever. Just 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. So you saw yourself in these sailors.
That's me.
That's you. So Ephraim dances like crazy. They're clearly going mad. I mean, you think that Thomas is mad already, but Ephraim is he's starting to go mad.
They don't have a picture of the caged head. They don't have a
God, I'm
picture
tired.
of the caged head. I was gonna try to look at it.
Because you forgot.
Just wanted to look at it more closely. Be like, oh shoot, maybe that's Billy.
Billy Bob. So then they start to like slow dance, and it's very odd.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? That's why I
weird.
keep saying they're a married couple. And then they physically start to fight and wrestle. So it's like they go from that and that. It's like just scenes quickly back and forth, and like the music changes and the background sounds. So you're like, what the hell is going on in this movie? And then you see Thomas like laying on his lap, and they're just resting. And then Ephraim says, my real name is Thomas Howard. Like, I lied to you. This is what you were talking about before.
Yeah.
And then Thomas goes, don't spill your beans, kid. And he's like very adamant about that. And then Ephraim tells like a really big secret. So like you're just learning more and more about Ephraim. He admits to letting his partner die in some accident
In the logging
accident when they were in Canada. And he took his name because he wanted like a fresh start. And then he becomes a lighthouse keeper. So he wanted a clean slate. But I wonder, why do you think that he tells him not to spill his beans?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Just
too.
like, does he not want him to get personal? I mean, you're hugging and drinking.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, maybe he's like, maybe because Thomas knows, like, we're drunk. Like, you know, everyone spills their beans when they're drunk sometimes, and like.
But he was,
now.
I don't know, but he said it multiple times, and he was like, you shouldn't have spilled your beans. Like, he's pretty adamant. Like, maybe like, you shouldn't have told me that because now I'm going to dock your pay. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Or something like that.
Or maybe like Thomas literally is kind of trying to be like, I don't know. It's not very admirable that you're telling me all this when you're super drunk or something.
Maybe. I don't know. So, then there's one weird scene where Ephraim is like sees himself on the ground, and then he turns and sees Thomas naked with a light coming out of his eye, and I guess it's like the lighthouse. Remember that
Yeah.
it's like a weird like weird.
Yeah,
it looks like,
yeah.
And then it's the camera stops and it looks like a painting.
Yeah.
That's like a very weird scene. There's like a lot of like
He looks like a
artsy
god in that
things.
one.
Yeah, for sure. His head is like the lighthouse, and he's like, but he's naked and his like legs are crossed.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a Sports Illustrated cover. So then Ephraim tries to escape on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas isn't happy. He like,
Don't leave me.
don't leave me. Yeah, and he like starts
the axe.
he starts to chase him with the axe, and he just chops up the boat.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's our lifeboat. Like, are you out of your mind? And then he accuses this is when I say like he waits to bring things up. He accuses Thomas of killing his last assistant. He's like, I found the head. You killed your last assistant. Mm-hmm. And then they both say that they'll tell on each other. So like Ephraim has gone mad. And then Thomas completely flips the story. He's
It is like two little boys, kind of.
oh yeah,
I'm going to tell you first.
no, I'll do this. I'm going to chop out the axe. Why would you do that, you idiot? Well, you
Yeah.
try to escape.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. So then Thomas is like, yeah, and you just tried to chase me with that axe. And you're just like, wait a minute. But then you're like, no, clearly, like, he just did it. And then you think about it, and you're just like, are we seeing what we're like... Are we being shown what's actually going on? So, like, it's up for interpretation. And then, so then this is when Thomas is like, how long have we been on this rock? 2 days? 2 weeks? A month? And you're like, oh, crap, how long have they been on this? Because there's, like, no clock or no time of any of this. And it definitely messes with your mind. And he's saying, I might be a figment of your imagination. And then it kind of gives me Fight Club vibes.
I mean, he could be a figment of his imagination,
right?
Or he is he is like his like subconscious, shown in a human form of some sort.
Well, this is the theory that like Thomas wasn't even a character, and that this was all in Ephraim's mind, and he was
just going crazy.
Yeah,
and all his guilt is coming out in the form of Thomas, which isn't even there, but he's there to us, but not to him in general, yeah. So yeah, and they just start like acting like animals. Like they beat their chest when they drink that drink. They're like, ooh, and then like we were talking about before, they made their own alcohol, and alcohol makes you a different person sometimes because like Ephraim was chased with an axe, and now they're friends again. And it's just like very weird, but it's also like, what else are we gonna do? You know, we're gonna stay at different parts of over the place.
They're so all over the place, and they have no choice, so they're stuck. Ephraim then finds Thomas's like book log of all the things that he's written, and it's not good. He just like, so then he yells at him to shut up, and he tells him he's like tired of everything, and this is like when he does this. I'm tired of you goddamn thoughts. You're no good. You're a phony, and he just like goes off, and he's had it.
And now his accent's a little bit more pronounced too.
Right, and you're just like, okay, like
which is like, yeah, it's just interesting because now that he feels, maybe because he finally told like his like actual self, like his actual self has an accent, whereas before in the beginning he was like, you know what, I gotta hide this accent because I'm pretending to be someone I'm not,
and the accent comes out more after he spills his beans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. So then he's like, I'm sick of you. I found your log. You're farting. You're just the worst. He goes off. He's had it. And then he shows him the log that Thomas has been accusing him. He's like, you accuse me of misconduct, assault, drunk on duty, and you recommend severance without pay, which is crazy because like he works so hard, or does he not? So like, who knows? Because he's like, again, the theory of like, did any of this happen? What's true or not? This is a lot of like with the A24 movies that we watch. But because you're just like you're one-sided. You pretty much relate to Ephraim, but he's like, you're gonna dock me without pay. Like that's just crazy because you're like, I did all this for nothing.
But maybe he is a terrible worker. We don't know.
He could be.
They don't really show the job he does. It just shows him doing stuff.
Well, if we compare him to the dad in The Witch, he's not great because it's like he killed a seagull. Jesus,
kills a seagull, ran away. He also said all I could do when I saw my like buddy die at my last job is light a cigarette.
Boy, I could use a smoke.
Yeah,
I could use me a smoke. Yeah, that's so sick. It's like he's like he's kind of like a sociopath.
Yeah,
doesn't have any feelings. And then Thomas yells back at him. He's like, "You killed the seagull, and you changed the course of events. Like this is all your fault," which is true, if you want to look at it that sense of like outside forces controlling things. And then they wrestle for real this time. Like when they were drunk, they were wrestling just to play around. But they like this is like intent to kill. And maybe this happened with the last assistant, and Thomas won. Because as they were fighting, Ephraim sees the man he killed, and then the mermaid, and then he sees Thomas's weird octopus all at one. Yeah, like he just sees like different mirages, and it's like it could be in his head or he's a shapeshifter. Yeah, which is weird. So,
Proteus.
Yeah, maybe him and his last assistant got into a fight, and if the assistant's even real, if Thomas is even real, but yeah, so it's just like he sees his Oh, the man that he killed or let die,
It's like
and
that
then
blonde guy.
the mermaid. So it's like it's the sin of murder, the lustful mermaid or something like that, and then this shape-shifting lunatic that you despise.
Yeah.
But is your boss.
You know what's kind of interesting though is that like I feel like if do we think that Thomas has like bad intentions for Ephraim?
Maybe. I don't really think so. He could just be like a real hard-ass work like boss.
Because in a way, like if we think about it, maybe he did have his best interest at heart, like to like make him work harder or something, or somehow, or some.
It's like Whiplash.
Yeah,
it's like he's like, I'm gonna work the shit out of you because I know there's something in you that makes you great.
Yeah, and like it's getting to Ephraim because he's
He's a normal human being.
Yeah, and it's a lot, but like. And the only thing that Thomas really puts on him that wouldn't be good for him is the alcohol, but everything else is like kind of like all right, he wants you to work hard, and if you haven't been able to hold the job down in the past, then maybe this is good for you.
Yeah, this could be like a new thing. Yeah, maybe because remember he was like after a hard day's work, he's like, lighten up, son.
Yeah,
have a drink. Or maybe he didn't intend on him drinking like a fish.
Yeah, no pun intended. Or is it? Ephraim's subconscious, like constantly being like, "You got this, man. You got this. This is a new job. This is great. Like you got this. Work hard, man. You're gonna do great." And then all of a sudden, like his inner demons just always take over, and then he just ultimately always fails at everything, and then he resorted back to like drinking or whatever. The other thing, he resorted back to having a smoke when something bad happened.
Yeah, he's an emotional guy. Emotions like run high.
And yeah, it just gets the best of him, like just his demons and his lack of manliness, I suppose you could say, or something,
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. There's a lot to analyze and break down with these characters. But yeah, so the music cuts back and forth, which like makes it more interesting, and you're like more hooked because like you don't know what to feel, which is great by A24 and Robert Eggers. If it wasn't like weird already, it gets bizarre. So then like Ephraim just like continues to beat the shit out of him, and then he like tells him, he literally goes, "Bark, bark, dog," and he like keeps saying it, "Bark, bark," and then Thomas starts to bark, and this scene is interesting because like he called him a, yeah, that's so weird,
so gross. He almost looks cartoon-like too, his eyes. Proteus. So yeah, it's yeah, that's Proteus right there. He's got tentacles.
He's got mermaid stuff. I think it looks
mermaid
like.
Stuff, tentacles. There he's there.
Yeah. So he tells him to bark like a dog, and and Thomas calls Ephraim a dog before that. And this is really weird that he just like. Why do you think that Thomas just submits to doing that? Is it because he just got his ass kicked and he like doesn't have much of a choice?
Yeah, I guess.
He's an old man.
Yeah,
and he's like, this guy's full of rage.
Yeah, because finally he's like kind of like stood up to him. It's almost like standing up to your, I don't know what,
but
like abusive father or whatever.
Right. But if we talk about the theory that like Thomas was never there, it's like Ephraim finally has power over outside negative forces, but he does it in a very Machiavellian way where it's like do whatever is necessary means to an end, like even if it includes violence. Because it's not like, because if you're looking at it at a psychological standpoint where you're like, okay, you want to defeat, I don't know, inner demons or outside forces, but then you're like, bark like a dog and I'm going to bury you alive. Well, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, that's why I think that maybe Thomas's intentions were kind of good in a way, and then so by Ephraim kind of like making him bark, it's almost like a mockery towards like anything good that could have and would have maybe came to him.
Because dogs are obedient. It's like bark like a dog because you're not human to me now.
Yeah, and it's like if we see Thomas as Thomas as like his the good in Ephraim, but now Ephraim is like, you know what? Fuck you, good side. Like shut the hell up. Like I'm gonna do whatever I want instead of being and you're gonna listen to me instead of the good shit telling him what to do. You know,
it's interesting as you're saying that. I compare compare that to Thomason because, like, in the beginning, she's good. She's doing everything that she's trying to do. And then it's like, you know what? Fuck it.
Fuck it.
I'm going to be a witch.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like, you know what? You're going to dock my pay. You're going to wrestle me.
yeah.
You're going to fart. I'm doing all this hard work. You know what? Yeah, screw you.
Yeah.
It's just like they've had it and they've taken, like, every single, like, fiber in them. Because, like, you can, like, make the argument, like, during the whole movie, they're like, Thomason, you're a witch. You're a witch. You're a witch. And it's like, no, she's not. You know, you're just saying that for some reason, or she might have been the whole time. There's a lot of you hear this a lot when you're like, there are people that on the outside are like they're great, but they keep their inner demons hidden.
Yeah,
and they're like really good at it. Some aren't, and they'll let them like come out every now and then. But like maybe Thomason and Ephraim like have them in them, and then it just takes like a lot for them to crack, and then they finally do. Like you don't get. He doesn't get mad often, but if you forget it, like he'll let it out, which is like. But it's a good thing because it's like, you know, it means that something really bad happened. So yeah, Thomason's like, all right. Not only is my family dead, but they just accused me of being a witch. Like, you know what? Go to hell. I'm going to be a witch anyway.
And for Ephraim, it was supposed to be like, oh, here's a new, fresh start. Like, you know, you took the name of this other guy that's deceased now. All right, let's try to make a good life. And then it just doesn't happen. And it's like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, whatever. I'll go back to my old ways.
Yeah. Like, I tried my best, but, you know, it's not working. Which is kind of a sad, tragic story.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like...
they can't escape like their old habits and old ways. Like it just keeps grabbing them every time they get away from it. Like they take like 3 steps forward, and then this thing just like says, "No, we're gonna bring you back," and then it just keeps going. It's almost that's another Greek mythological thing. I forget what the punishment was, but there's a punishment for somebody who's in hell that they push a rock up the hill, and every time they get to the top, they're about to get to the top, it just comes right back down to the bottom. They have to do it again.
It's Epidus.
Oedipus?
No.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus
is punished in the underworld by the god Zeus, who forces him to roll the boulder up a hill for eternity.
Jesus, that's terrible.
Oh.
God. So, yeah. I wonder if Shakespeare got any... what?
This is so funny. This is like a comic of it, and it's his boss comes in. This is Sisyphus, and the boss goes, "Hey Sisyphus, when you get a minute, I'd like to discuss the progress report with you," because he can never get it up to the top.
That's so funny. I wonder if Shakespeare got any inspiration from Greek mythology, because he writes a lot of tragic stories.
Yeah,
he's
got to have. Yeah.
Same with George Lucas, drew a lot from Greek mythology.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So the next scene is them outside, and Ephraim is physically walking Thomas like a dog, and you're like, okay, this is really uncomfortable. Like this whole movie is bizarre and weird, but this is just like, it's just uncomfortable. It's just a very weird scene,
and it's almost like I almost get a sexual nature from it too, because of how close they've been the whole time, and like the weird, you know, things that Thomas was doing, and now Ephraim has him on a leash, and like they were slow dancing together at one point too. It's like,
yeah, like will they, won't they? There's a lot of sexual undertones to it. It's very bizarre with like dominance and submissiveness and like hierarchy structure. They go hand in hand. And well, yeah, like I learned in my horror film class, it's like a lot of horror movies are just like, or just, you know, not comedies or dramas, have these like Freudian sexual undertones to it, like slasher movies and now these psychological horrors. In The Witch, there was a lot of sexual stuff to it. I mean, she's naked at the end.
Yeah.
And
they're always
flies
trying to
up.
get the brother to come into the witch's lair.
Yeah, and he has
she comes out
like
hot.
that orgasm at one point. And Midsummer, there's the banging scenes, and it's weird.
Slashers are always like crazy with undertones, especially because it's always like a girl at the end that ends up being survived, and she, you know, she's got covered in blood and just like everything. And,
well, she's usually like the virgin, I think, is the one that survives. Kind of like in It Follows.
Yeah.
It's funny. All these movies connect.
It's funny though. In X, it's like the complete opposite, not the virgin.
Yep. That's like where the because I feel like in X, it's like we're watching a movie of like the rebellion to a normal society. And they're like, we're doing something that's really frowned upon. So I don't know.
Because you would think it would be what's her face, Rodriguez. What is her?
Rodriguez.
Who's that girl that was in the Addams Family show on Netflix?
Wednesday. The girl who plays it Wednesday. Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
I thought her name was
Overrated, my opinion, but go ahead.
Jenna Ortega. You would think she'd be the one that would make it out alive.
Right.
And she was about to until she started screaming.
Oh my god, shut up.
I hate you guys. I never wanted to be here. I literally go, shut the fuck up.
Shut up. Shut the hell up.
I think if we were in a house and like someone started doing that, I might just take a knife and just right in their throat and just be like, all right, well, we're going to start running now because they know where we are, but at least we got rid of that.
Got rid of that and handled the situation, and one down. So then Ephraim starts to bury him alive. Very, very strange.
Oh, yeah.
The seagulls are chirping in the background, but like more so more so than usual. Like you said, they're mocking him. And it's funny because the weather is calm, but this is like the lowest and craziest part of the movie, which is interesting. Like the I don't know. It's almost like I don't know. Somebody's controlling the weather to make it like calm. I don't know why. Maybe because like I don't know.
Well, if Thomas is Proteus, he can probably control a lot of different things too, right?
Well, maybe because if it's no, you're right. Maybe if it's like a storm, it'll it'll wash him up, and there'll be less of a chance for him to survive.
Yeah,
that could be it. Yeah,
because obviously Poseidon can control everything. So I'm sure if it's his son or brother, whichever one it was, he's probably got the same powers.
So, in this show's Ephraim's like lack of empathy. So it's like the discussion of if he's really like evil or he's just like kind of evil and had hidden demons and now he's just letting it all out, which I think the latter. So yeah, he's got lack of empathy and like his need to seek revenge, or he's just hammered and gone mad.
Yeah.
So like that could be it too. Like that is just a lot of it where you're like in Midsummer, you're like they're all on drugs, and this they're freaking hammered.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So,
Midsummer, Hereditary, they're all schizophrenic or something, except for the dad because he's not blood related.
And in The Witch, if you look back at history, the one of the theories to why they accused everybody of being a witch is there was like this something in the fungus or something in the ground that they were eating. Something got on something and made them like go like psycho or some shit. Yeah, there's theories to that in a lot of weird historical events, like that dancing plague, that dancing epidemic back in like the 1500s. Everybody like couldn't stop dancing, and they were like, "Was there something in their food?" Which is interesting. So as dirt is being thrown on Thomas, he like keeps talking, and he like is doing these sayings, and he's talking like as if the light is God, which you said that his last assistant was talking about. He mentions the divine, and like these are like his last words, and he's kind of like giving himself last rites, which are interesting.
Yeah.
So then Ephraim jumps in the pit because he literally completely covers Thomas with all the dirt. And for a second, you're like, oh, shit. You know, he's like, oh, my God, what have I done? Like, let's get him. No, he goes and gets the key.
I need him keys,
to
boy.
the lighthouse.
Give him keys.
When you saw it the first time, did you think that he was going to, like, go and help him?
Give me them keys.
Give him the keys.
No, I thought keys right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, this guy just realized that he can do everything now. He can do whatever he wants. He's got this buddy buried. Grab those keys.
I wonder what it says about me and you, because like I feel like I guess I see more empathy in people, or like
I thought he was just completely changed, so I was just like,
well, that I knew, but maybe I don't know. For a second, he was just like, oh shit, what have I done? Like this is the only guy on the.
I think because it's just him now. So
well, you're right. Like, yeah.
Gotta go. Might as well.
I've gone this far.
even if he did get like a thing of like, oh shit, what have I done? Like I think it was the end for Thomas anyway.
Yeah,
Eventually his curiosity would have been like, you know what, just go check it out.
Yeah, let's see what all the fuss is about. But then out of nowhere, Thomas runs and hits Ephraim with an axe. And then Ephraim quickly hits Thomas with the kettle, and then he kills him with the axe. So you think that he buried him alive, but that was quick for him to get out and like run and get him. Maybe that was his plan. Like, I'm going to make you believe that I'm dead. Take the keys. What do I care? I'm not going to let you get him. But then Ephraim is still like a lunatic, and he just like smashes him with the axe.
I think he has a smoke too. After he kills
I think he does, yeah, because the camera zooms in on his face with dirt and blood on it. Yeah, and I wrote it down, with a cigarette in his mouth. And then he says some saying, and then he begins to drink again.
Mm-hmm.
And the cigarette is a nod to when we were talking about I could use me a smoke.
Yep.
When things are just at the lowest point, he's just like, yeah, I could use me. Why do you think why do you think he said that? Like, yeah, when I saw when my partner died, the only thing I could think of was, boy, I could use me a smoke. So clearly, you're Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
you have no
it's like a coping thing. He's just like, yeah, whatever. There's
On to the
another
next one.
Maybe he's just so used to like bad things happening to him, or like that he's just like numb to it.
Yeah, but it's so weird because like in the beginning, like you're like, this guy's such a good guy. He doesn't drink. You know, he's just trying to like have a fresh start. Because at one point he says like, nothing wrong with a man trying to make a living, a fresh start or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about in this one.
But once we learn about him, we could probably infer that like he's probably tried to have multiple fresh starts, in my opinion, and like he just keeps failing at each one because he can't escape himself. That his mind is his own enemy, and he just can't escape himself. And perhaps the island represents his own mind. He just can never escape what he self-sabotaging. Because if you think about it, like your mind is like your own little island too. You can't escape it. Like you can make it what you want it to be, but unfortunately for him, he makes it. It could start as a sanctuary, but you also have the ability to make it as a hell.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And you're just very tragic.
Yeah, because you're just stuck. You're stuck on the island. You're stuck with your one mind. You're stuck with your one brain.
You're trapped.
Yeah, you have.
So you're emotionally and mentally trapped, but you're also physically trapped on the island. Crazy. So then Ephraim crawls up the stairs with like more blood on his face than I think we saw in the beginning. But I think it's because he's closer and closer to the light. So then he's just looking absolutely disheveled, like it's just he's donezo. The music in this scene is like eerie but really mystical. Remember, like there's like these like chime, and it's like
I think there's like a low rumble too or something.
Probably
bass wise. I kind of forget.
Bass singer. Lots of theories to this movie, like The Shining. At this point, you're definitely thinking of like what the hell is going on. So Ephraim looks into the light and has like this orgasm and is screaming really loud, and it's like distorted. Remember the distorted sound?
That's the greatest sound. I love that.
That was so good. Yeah, I remember you being like, "Oh, that's amazing," because it's just like, "Whoo, this is just something else."
Are you possessed by an owl?
Yeah, try to get me with that last name. Oh, turn that fucking camera off. So, what does he say? Somebody in the somebody in the family is possessed by an owl.
Somebody in the office is possessed by an owl.
Who?
Somebody in the office is possessed by an owl.
Who?
You better turn that thing off.
Turn that fucking camera off. That's great. So yeah, he has like this orgasm, screams really loud, this like distorted sound. All the sounds in the movie, that one, the foghorn, the waves, it's just they're all fantastic. So then he falls down the stairs, and outside you see the seagulls pecking at his stomach. They're just going to town, and they have the last laugh. And they're going to town. He's naked, he's done for, but he's still alive, which is.
And that's Prometheus, because he finally got the light, he got the fire, but then he couldn't handle it, I guess, or whatever we're gonna infer about it.
Yeah,
whatever he saw, he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, because he fell,
and then his punishment is to be pecked by seagulls, but still alive. And Prometheus is chained to a rock and pecked at his liver by an eagle.
I think it's just like a. I'm trying to think of another movie or something where it's like.
This is Into the Light. That's the music.
You hear like the chimes.
Yeah. So interesting.
But yeah, I feel like it's like whoever's controlling this, the gods or the island or the lighthouse itself. It's like, all right, we're gonna give you a glimpse of what you missed, and then you're gonna fall and you're gonna die. It's just like you get to see that before you die, but you're gonna die in the worst way possible. So they're kind of like vultures. They're just like going to town on him, and it ends with like them like screeching. And it's like they have the last laugh. They're mocking him, and they kind of win, sort of say. And I remember because I saw this in theaters with my friend Bailey, and like it goes to black and you hear silence, and I don't know if I heard people or like you get the consensus. Most people were like, "What the fuck did we just watch?" Like, holy crap! So then after that, my buddy and I went to this bar and had beers and talked about it for like hours, and I was just like, "That's something." Like, I mean, I saw Hereditary before that, but that is something that I just like.
This one's way more like up for interpretation too, like
for more than I think any movie we reviewed for sure.
Because they want you to feel the almost like the you're not sure of anything. Just how like Thomas and Ephraim have no idea about their time, what day it is, what's going on. Like, we're so drunk. Yeah, what's the real name?
Are you even here?
Yeah, so it's almost like putting us into that, which they definitely did.
So this is a crazy movie. I mean, I liked it. It's interesting. It's intriguing. My score for this movie, I'm going to give it 8.3 out of 10. I think that's a pretty good score. I don't know. I feel like I said before, a little too artsy. A little too much for interpretation. I don't need movies where you're just like, okay, this is, this happens because of this, blah, 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 blah. I like things up for interpretation. I don't like it too much. So, like, I mean, it's a good movie because of the acting is incredible, the production, the music, the directorial ways and creativity in the movie.
The creativity
is just
great.
Incredible. It's something you've never seen before. But I have like slight issues to it. But 8.3 out of 10.
Yeah, honestly,
phenomenal.
I'd probably lower mine. I'd say around there, 8.2, 8.3, something like that. Maybe even an 8.1. Because even like when we were just going back on it, like most movies, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like, but this one, I couldn't really remember each point because I was like, I feel like as I'm watching it, I'm still like on the last couple scenes, still trying to figure it out. So then what I'm currently watching, I'm not even paying attention to because I'm like, wait, the last thing, what the hell was that?
Yeah, you're like looking it up. You're like, wait, I don't remember the head in the box.
Yeah.
Well, it's because like that's why when I wrote it down, I'm like, as I'm writing it, you're kind of realizing, all right, it's just him working or them having dinner, and it's like I said, they're like a married couple, and you're just like going through their lives, but like a bunch of weird shit happens, and then like the weather changes and shit starts to go downhill. But yeah, you got to watch it a bunch to kind of like realize what's going on. But not a lot happens. But then there's also scenes where a lot happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like he slaps him, and you're like, oh, that was something.
Yeah.
And then he beats the shit out of the bird. Okay, that was something. He finds the mermaid. That was something. But other than that, it was just like, they're dancing, they're farting, they're having dinner.
Yeah, there's not a lot of other like outside things to kind of give me like a point of where I am in the movie. Like whereas in Hereditary, like I can see that it's clearly nighttime, it's clearly daytime. They're at school, they're at work, they're at like this place and that. And any of the other movies we've reviewed or watched, it's like, okay, clearly we're in this house right now. It's clearly daytime. We're clearly going down into this creepy new basement in Barbarian.
Right. In Hereditary, they're at the party. Okay, you can assume it's 10 o'clock or something like that. She's shopping. You're like, all right, it's probably the afternoon.
Midsummer's the only one that could trick your mind a little bit, but even still with that too, like there were multiple places they would go. Like, with this, it's just the island and
one
like,
setting. It's
one
the
setting,
house.
And that's it. So.
But in Midsummer, even too, it's like, okay, that summer in Sweden, I'm pretty sure it's light, like 18 hours of the day or something like that. So, yeah, this one's crazy. I liked it for sure, but there's just it's not my favorite. I'll probably see it again, but I'm also not really a fan of like too many sexual things. I feel like if they're kind of like loosely talked about and you kind of understand, this one it's like there are masturbation scenes, there's him humping the bed,
and they do it at weird
times, there's semen coming from the thing, which I thought was kind of gross, and it's a little gross too because like you see him peeing in the bucket and then he throws the thing and the shit comes back in his face, and it's a little like you're like, all right, that's a little too much, but hey,
it's very very barbaric, kind of almost more so than any of the
more than
other
the Barbarian.
scenarios.
Yeah, and I get it because it's like that's the time period of it, but it's very strange. Because then his next movie, The Northman, is like more like profound and more like elegant, and it's like he's avenging his father's, right? Isn't that what he does? He avenges his father's.
Isn't
death
it kind of like
that?
what's the Leo movie? kind of
Revenant.
like that.
Yeah,
right?
kind of. Yeah, you're like, all right, this is like it's. I don't know. He goes from.
I only watched it once, and I was very distracted. I don't know why.
I watched it with you.
Oh, really?
You might have saw it. You probably saw it first.
I remember watching it at my house.
Well, we tried to watch it with Gav, and
Oh, really?
Well, outside, and you never got the.
Oh,
projector
yeah.
board. But then me and you watched it in your room, not your room. Excuse me, your living room. Yeah, we watched it in his twin bed.
At the time, futon.
Oh man, yeah, that's funny. So yeah, that was our review and analysis of The Lighthouse, 2019. Robert Eggers, Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, and 8.2 from Brendan, 8.3 from me. Pretty good scores, but so that's a wrap for this one.
That's a wrap.
What are you scared of something? Stay tuned for other movie reviews. And I'm telling you, coming up is going to be us live in action. We're going to be going to a haunted house, most likely. I think we're going to head up to Salem, a little New England style. I mean, we were doing The Witch, The Lighthouse. These movies were set in New England. And we're going to be with our buddy Jared. We're going to start getting guests on the show. There's going to be some good stuff for you guys. So stay tuned. That's a wrap.
Hell yeah. We're going to get to see this guy scared over here a little bit. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. It'll be good. It'll be good content because I will be frightened for sure.
All right. Good night, San Diego. Woo. See you guys.